For today's Halloween craft, we are going to be making the book from Hocus Pocus, which I'm really excited about because I'm going to use it as a prop for a future photo shoot that I will be putting out for you guys later this week. So I started with this air dry clay and I decided to just cover my Betty Crocker cookbook because it's one that I already keep on my shelf, and instead of just making an extra book that has contents I can't use, why not jazz up a book in which contents I already use, and then it's not wasting any extra space. So I'm going to make this cookie book, which is already magical, into a magical book. So I started by making the corners and pressing this chunk down on the side where the snake is going to go with this air dry clay. I decided right away that I absolutely despise this air dry clay. Would not recommend using it for any future projects. It dried, it cracked, it was awful, I hated it. So I'm using just regular Sculpey clay for my snakes that are going to be on this book and the other embellishments. So you can see I've got one full snake in the binding, the side, and then this one has to be, it was almost like a trinity in the corner. So we're gonna loop one way, loop the other way, and then the top loop. Just like that, and I'm gonna gently press it in place so the bottom's a little flattened. And then I'll be able to remove all of those bakeable pieces and slide them right into the oven to bake and be hot glued on later. So I did one layer of paper mache to do my first layer of texture. And then I went back in to add more texture with the same paper mache mix, which is just Elmer's glue and water. And then some paper towel. I prefer to use paper towel that has not floral patterns, but some just dots. And then I bought a pack of these eyes from a craft store. They have them out for Halloween. I think I'm going to do some other projects with them, but I just found one that fit well. And I like it, so yay for that. It's got this amber color. It looks really like three-dimensional. I don't know, I really like it. So I'm going to remove all my clay pieces and I'm going to start adding my texture by ripping off a piece of that paper towel in smaller chunks, not super small, but like easy to work with. And then I'm just going to lay them flat and I want them to wrinkle. The book is supposed to be made out of human skin or whatever, if I recall correctly. It has been too long since I've watched Hocus Pocus, at least 3 years, which is unacceptable. It should be watched every year because it's amazing. So I'm soaking them, I'm wringing them out a little bit, and then I'm laying them flat. If they drip like that one piece just did, you should wring it out a little bit more. And as you can see, I'm trying not to spread them out or flatten them out. I'm trying like really super thin. I'm trying to push it down when it's still a little bunched up, so I get a lot of that taut, pulled skin look and a lot of different wrinkles. If it doesn't wrinkle, pull it together a little bit so it does. So that's what this looks like. We're gonna let that dry overnight. And then the next thing I did was go in and use a marker to kind of draw the lines of where all the stitching pieces should be. And then I'm rolling these paper towel pieces up into little snakes and pressing them into all the different little painted lines. Directly after that, I'm going to use thin pieces to lay on top so that it looks like skin being stitched up together and not like something sitting on top of the skin like texture, but like worked into it, like it's being pulled up and stitched. After that, I am applying a very generous layer of paint, and I'm using hot glue to create the lifted spine. So lots and lots of acrylic paint. I'm gonna let that dry. I originally tried a metallic silver on the snake. I had to go with a gray and then use the metallic after because the metallic was super thin. You see the difference between the two corners. And then I'm gonna start doing some shading. So I used a light beige tone to do some shading while the brown paint was still wet so that some of it would mix together, and in the drier spots I just kind of like dry painted over top. You can see the paint starting to pull at some of that texture that's in the paper towels. That's why I like using this stuff with the little dots in it, because it almost look like really big pores or like additional texture. I also went in along the sides with black and also blended that out, either by adding more brown paint or into the existing wet brown paint. Then I made a mix of glue and brown paint and used that to smush down any edges that were lifting or any areas I didn't like. So it was just straight glue and brown paint. For my stitches, I very carefully used my hot glue gun over the raised portions and created a gentle stitch. I originally thought that I was going to go in and like use embroidery thread, but the paper towel Mod Podge combo was just a little too delicate. So there's the final product, nice and spooky. Don't forget to like and subscribe.